Part 90. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 901. Now Wu Yu has developed the most effective method, that is, to fight with the sword spirit venerable, or to be more fierce, the main body and the devouring heaven body, with one mind and two purposes, that is the most brutal duel. Especially the main body and the devouring heaven body, at this time, they are at a time when their strength is similar. The return of the devouring heaven body, the attacks of the Northern Dark Emperor K, and its immortal characteristics are all very difficult to deal with, while Wu Yu's main body has four great magical powers, including the Vajra indestructible body, the ghost communication technique, the violence technique, and the divine movement technique, which are also very powerful. Now he has obtained such a suitable upper spiritual weapon for himself. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. At this time, the duel will definitely be very tense. In fact, what is more tense is that Wu Yu is doing two things at the same time, just like his left hand fighting with his right hand. He makes his own moves and tries to counter the moves. When fighting, everything is in a flash, so this requires him to have super thinking ability. That is why the more he fights, the faster his ability in this aspect improves. The benefit of practicing fighting is to make oneself better at fighting. Sometimes, he can even use his other pair of eyes to see himself, which can help him find his own shortcomings and the existence of the Tao. He would try it occasionally. Others can't do this, because even if others have clones, they are not the second soul. Only Wu Yu is truly equivalent to having two bodies, so this method works for him in the world. Although Wu Yu wanted to fight very much at this moment, the nine tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar made him have such a desire to hold this upper spiritual tool to destroy everything, but Wu Yu held back and calmed himself down. Because he has not yet completely understood this upper spirit Dao device, and the devouring heaven body has not completely understood the soul removal, he needs at least 2 or 3 months to fully master these two upper spirit Dao devices, master their main arrays, and the most critical attack arrays, defense arrays, and so on. As for soul removal, all are attack arrays. There is one called heartbroken soul removal, which is the most effective killing method after it is activated. The speed of this knife is terrifyingly fast, disappearing in the blink of an eye, killing people invisibly, often hitting the vital points such as the Purple Palace, and killing them instantly. There is another one called heart-destroying soul chasing, which was used by the ghost array guest on Wu Yu. As long as the target is locked, it can be chased until the target position is hit, and even only the approximate position of the target is needed. For example, in the Emperor Le Mansion, Wu Yu can even control this soul removal from thousands of miles away, allowing it to fly thousands of miles and kill people thousands of miles away. Both abilities are amazing. However, Wu Yu is most concerned about the nine tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar. In terms of attack and defense, this burning heaven pillar is very streamlined. In terms of defense, there is a relatively rare pure defense array, which is performed in the form of 9 cauldrons, called 9 palaces immovable array. Wu Yu has not yet fully understood it, but it is probably surrounded by 9 cauldrons, protecting itself, immovable like a mountain, and can resist very strong attacks. The specific details are not clear, so Wu Yu does not know what scale of attack it can block. However, as a relatively rare defense array, it is definitely not bad. There are also 2 types of attack arrays. Don't look at the small number, it is precisely because of the small number that each type of array is used. The first type is performed in the form of 9 cauldrons, called 9 palaces furnace burning silence array. The 9 giant cauldrons are arranged in 9 palaces, namely, Gan Palace, Gon Palace, Zhen Palace, Zhong Palace, Sun Palace, Li Palace, Kun Palace, and Dui Palace, forming a huge 9-palace furnace. 9 kinds of flames are calcined at the same time, forming a furnace world that surpasses the lava hell, burning the enemy into powder, and the power is comparable to the fire spirit fairy liquid surrounding. Wu Yu estimated that this is the case. The second one is performed in the form of the burning heaven pillar, named 9 Tribulations Burning Heaven Shattering Prison. This is a magic array that gathers almost all of the burning heaven pillar. It runs roughly, gathers the power of the flames in it, compresses it, and then releases it, so that the 9 kinds of flames are mixed into one, with a huge ability to destroy. With one stick, it can destroy hell. This is probably what it means, but Wu Yu has not tried it himself, and he does not know the extent of its power for the time being. In order to save a little time, he entered seclusion and studied these 2 upper spiritual instruments. Because everyone knew that he had obtained a treasure and was refining it, no one disturbed him. In the floating life tower, he could save half of the time, or rather, gain twice the time. He concentrated on studying and delving into it. After more than a month, he basically understood the removing soul and could use it in battle. His heaven-devouring body came out of the floating life tower first. After all, it was still a little risky to be alone outside the floating life tower. Then the devouring heaven body was outside, studying some arrays, refining pills and the like, and Wu Yu had just mastered the 9 palaces furnace burning silence array at this time, and there were still a lot of arrays that he had not mastered. The array of this upper spiritual device is difficult, so there are many things that he does not understand. Wu Yu also has to look up the information to see what array it is when it is decomposed. Now his attainments in arrays are actually not shallow, and he can also arrange many large arrays of heaven and earth. Arrays are complex and delicate things. The arrays in these upper spiritual devices are the crystallization of the wisdom of the predecessors. Wu Yu cannot draw such arrays now. He only needs to understand why it works like this and produces such an effect, which is obviously much easier. He is just a learner, and the difficulty is definitely not as difficult as the creator who creates something out of nothing. If it were to be created, such a spiritual weapon might take years, more than 10 years, or even longer, decades. It took him more than 3 months to thoroughly understand this weapon, which was not a long time, but others might need longer. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. And this is the time inside the floating life tower. Compared with the speed of time, it was actually less than 2 months outside. Wu Yu came out of seclusion in less than 2 months, which was a very short time. After coming out, he couldn't wait to leave the divine capital alone. In a desolate land, his heaven-devouring body and the main body had a century-long battle. This was a fight between himself and himself, so the feeling was certainly different. Wu Yu had to hypnotize himself and beat himself to death, as if he was going to commit suicide. It was precisely because of this that he could achieve a very informative battle. If others knew about this, they would definitely think he was a lunatic. In this battle, the heaven-devouring body relied on its own swallowing advantage, and assisted the 2 spiritual weapons, Beiming Emperor K and Soul Unloading, with a total of 6 attack arrays, which cooperated with each other and were used to perfection. The main body mainly relies on the magical power of the Fire Absolute Fairyland, the magical power of the Law of Heaven and Earth, the magical power of the Lawless Clone, as well as the Violent Technique and the Ghost Technique, plus the 3 super magic arrays of the Burning Heaven Pillar. In the end, the result is that Wu Yu's main body's attack power is more violent and fierce. However, although it can defeat the Devouring Heaven body, it is difficult to injure it because the Devouring Heaven body also has an immortal body. In fact, his 2 bodies are completely different fighting methods. The main body is rough, strong, direct, and suppressive, while the Devouring Heaven body is mysterious and focuses on attacking in the dark. The combination of the 2 is the most powerful attack. In addition, at this time, the main body and the Devouring Heaven body have the strength to fight against the Sword Spirit Lord alone, especially the main body, which can almost defeat the Sword Spirit Lord alone and make it scrapped. After being scrapped, it will take a few days for the floating life tower to repair it. If the 3 are combined, Wu Yu does not know how strong the enemy can be defeated by relying on his tacit understanding of fighting and his own fighting nature. After several battles with himself, he returned to Emperor Yu's mansion. He was a little worried about Yezixi. During this period, she had been in seclusion to study the magic wand, but there had been no news. After all, she had just lost her parents, and Wu Yu was worried that she could not get over this psychologically. After returning to the Le Emperor's mansion, Nanshan Wanjiao came back unexpectedly, and Yezixi was just coming out of seclusion. At this time, Nanshan Wanjiao was teasing Yezixi, saying, "When Wu Yu first met me, he was scared to death and ran away on the spot. At that time, he was not so powerful and timid, calling me big brother. Now he has some ability and courage, and even I have to be inferior to him and be his little brother. Now when I go out, others say, isn't that the demon little brother of Le Emperor? It's really infuriating. Do you know why I am practicing so hard now? It is for one day, when people look at Wu Yu, they will say, isn't that Nanshan Wanjiao's human little brother?" Yezixi seemed to be in a good mood and listened happily. After Wu Yu appeared, Nanshan Wanjiao smiled, closed his mouth, and waved his folding fan awkwardly. However, he immediately found that Yezixi was staring at his folding fan and asked, "Brother Nanshan, why are you so shy?" "No, you are seeing it wrong. If you don't believe me, look." Nanshan Wanjiao was startled and changed quickly. At this time, the picture of the beauty on it turned into mountains and rivers. For a moment, Yezixi thought she was seeing it wrong. Brother Yu Yezixi had ignored him for a long time and jumped towards Wu Yu. "Did you get anything?" Wu Yu saw that she was in a good mood and thought there was a good result. Yezixi shook her head and said melancholy, "I tried very hard to get in touch with it, but it didn't work. There was no response at all. I wonder if my method is wrong. It doesn't need me to actively look for it, or it will find me at the right time." Wu Yu thought about it and said, "What you said makes sense. This is from his own perspective. Generally, when he tried his best to find the Ruyi Jingbang, he basically got nothing." Nanshan Wanjiao said, "Little princess, what do you want? I heard that you have never seen the outside world. Then do you want Brother Nanshan to take you to see this wonderful world? To be honest, I used to be the same as you, but after coming to the capital of the gods, I found that this world is so beautiful." Yezixi was eager to try. She came out of the lava hell and appeared directly in the Ledi mansion without seeing the outside world. Calculated, the time is almost up, and Ledi should prepare an identity for her. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 902. Yezixi's mentality changed in a positive way, and Nanshan Wanjiao happened to be back, so Wu Yu decided to take her out for a walk to really see what the largest core of the entire Yanfu world was like. The Yanhuang divine capital is lively and prosperous, like a capital city that can only be found in heaven, vast and huge, with no boundaries visible. Wu Yu came from Dongsheng Shenzhou, and his childhood youth at Nanshan Wanjiao were all in the prison of the Sea of Ghosts, while Yezixi was a member of the imprisoned Guiyan tribe and had never seen the outside world, let alone the prosperous world. City of Gods. To the three of them, the Yanhuang city, which has a history of more than hundreds of thousands of years, is the most profound, magnificent, and miraculous place in the world. For example, the Ming capital of the northern Ming Empire cannot be compared with this place. Wu Yu had never visited this divine city, but he had become very familiar with Nanshan Wanjiao during this period of time. There are many people who know him in the capital of the gods. He is a demon, and he has many wealthy businessmen and aristocratic children, and they are brothers. The sky-swallowing body remains in the Fusion Tower. Wu Yu usually moves with his body outside, which is a little more convenient. Now he is strong and sharp, and his eyes are full of oppression. Although he is not decisively handsome, his unique aura comes from the Monkey King. His unruly aura cannot be imitated by anyone, so even if he stands next to Nanshan Wanjiao, who looks elegant, handsome, enchanting, and unrivaled in elegance, he will attract more attention. In a small group of 3 people, just by looking at his appearance and temperament, no one would think that Nanshan Wanjiao would be the decision maker. At this time, his temperament was obviously a little weaker than that of Wu Yu, which was different from when they first met. As for Yazixi, she is a rare beauty with white and tender skin. Her temperament is completely different from that of the beauties of the Yanhuang tribe. She has a colder and darker temperament. You must know that most of the beauties of the Yanhuang tribe are proud and passionate. Very difficult to tame. She was holding a lazy white cat in her arms, which was quite attractive. Not long after I walked out of the Emperor's palace this time, I happened to meet Emperor Yu. Next to him were 4 people, including Xuanhuan, Chu Fenjiao and Bailey Xuanhuan. The relationship between Emperor Yu and them was much better. He and Wu Yu are slightly different. From Wu Yu's intuition, they are closer. Maybe it's because they knew each other before, maybe there are other reasons. Has Miss Ye come out? Wu Yu, I forgot to tell you that Miss Ye's identity has been arranged, and I have arranged to spread it out. Some people can find out that I have brought back a ghost cultivator genius. In the future, in God do, oh no, you can walk anywhere you want in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Seeing Yazixi, Emperor Yu said directly. The other 3 people standing beside him had different expressions. Chu Haoan was staring at Yazixi, while Chu Fenjiao still looked indifferent and arrogant, especially because he was too lazy to look at Yazixi. Zixi, and Bailey Chehan, was a little jealous of Wu Yu's limelight. Zixi, please thank Emperor Yu quickly, Wu Yu reminded. Yes, Yazixi did as Wu Yu said. Her tone was neither cold nor hot. She was not too close, but she was not far away either. It seemed that she had already made up her mind about how to face the son of her enemy. When she was the emperor's son, her mood did not fluctuate greatly. At this time, she walked out of the emperor's palace for the first time. She was turning her head and looking around curiously. Here at least she could see the blue sky with pure white clouds. It might be normal for other people, but for her, she said that after leaving the holy demon city and seeing such a real sky for the first time, she was still a little shocked, because she knew that everything in the holy demon city was fake and was transformed by the magic circle. The key is that the holy demon city is probably completely destroyed now. Wu Yu, are you going out to take Miss Ye to play in the capital of the gods? Emperor Yu asked. Wu Yu nodded. Emperor Yu said, that's just right. The 4 of us feel that practicing is boring and want to have some fun. It's just a good time for others to see Miss Ye coming with me so that her identity can be spread. After all, we are hotly discussed now. Focus, even if Miss Ye goes out alone, no one will cause trouble because she is a ghost cultivator. On the contrary, Wu Yu and Emperor Xie immediately attracted the attention of almost everyone, making Yazixi a talent attached to Emperor Xie. It was a bit like Wu Yu once made Nanshan Wanjiao and Princess Yuking, a reason. This helps her engage directly with the world. So a group of 7 people went directly outside. This time they walked on foot without taking any Taoist tools. This also made it easier for Yazixi to see the outside world better. U6 will be my biggest confidants from now on. As Wu Yu told me a few days ago, I have thought a lot and understand what kind of heart I should have. If I can achieve hegemony in the future, I will definitely make the 6 of you prosperous and wealthy. Any benefit of becoming a human being cannot be without your brothers and sisters, Emperor Yu said. He does not regard other emperors' sons and daughters as brothers and sisters, but is close to Wu Yu and others. This is actually the most normal thing for royal families to fight for the emperor. Everyone is no longer brothers and sisters, but competitors. To serve the emperor, Hao Yan will fight against mountains and seas of fire without any hesitation, Chu Haoan said solemnly. Chasing souls also goes to war with the emperor. They agreed, but Wu Yu didn't say much. After all, this kind of thing can't just be said. Emperor Yu was very satisfied. After all, he had such a group of confidants and confidants. In fact, when they walked out of the emperor's mansion, many people secretly observed them. After all, it was the first time for the emperor to go out in such a big way, chatting and laughing. Most of the people in the imperial palace of the divine capital are the royal family, or their relatives. Unlike the mortal palace, there are not many guards, eunuchs, and maids here. There are only a few specialized people who maintain the magic circle, but they are basically top-notch ones. Of ascetics. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. So there was not much excitement in the palace. But I have to say that the aura here is so rich that it looks like fairy mist lingering throughout the palace, and it looks similar to the legendary heaven. After walking out of the palace, we came to the streets of Chengdu outside, where it officially became lively. Although only elites could stay in Chengdu, the Yanhuang ancient kingdom was so big that it had 3 continents, so there were many elites. Yazixi was really shocked when she saw the bustling outside for the first time. There were shops everywhere, and those shops were very huge. They sold all kinds of elixirs, fairy spirits, Taoist tools, Taoist techniques, etc. There are basically magical powers, treasures, and talismans of all levels, and there are even those that directly sell spiritual tools, but the price will be extremely high. In addition to shops, there are many entertainment venues, which are basically related to ascetics. For example, some immortal massage techniques can help people relax their muscles and bones, detoxify and beautify their skin. There are also places that can guide people to achieve breakthroughs in the Taoist realm. There are various inns. In those inns, there are top immortal chefs who use immortal spirits to prepare delicacies from the mountains and seas with the help of alchemy techniques. After eating, they have a huge effect similar to elixirs and are very delicious. Of course, immortal brewing is also indispensable. After passing by the fine wine, if a mortal just smells the aroma of the wine, he can live a few more years. Some inns even have special guest rooms, which are supplied with various types of spiritual energy. Practicing in these guest rooms will get twice the result with half the effort. Many ascetics from all over the ancient Yanhuang kingdom will go to such inns specifically to seek breakthroughs. There are also places where you can rent Taoist tools such as warships, and there are places where you can hire ascetics to save your life. Anyway, there are all kinds of things in the world, but they are all equated with the asceticism, so they are particularly interesting. The entire divine city, apart from the monks' mansions, is filled with various shops. Anyway, as long as you have enough wealth, you can definitely live a very cool life, spend a lot of money, and make others admire you. Of course, it is absolutely forbidden to fight or kill privately in public places. God has 5 legions with staggered patrols. No matter how strong or high status a person is, they must behave themselves in God. However, some fights in the dark are inevitable. Compared with the underworld, the city of God is much more lively. This place is simply a paradise for ascetics. No wonder Nanshan Wanjiao lives and drinks here and lives a very happy life. As Yazixi came to the outside world for the first time, she was really shocked to see these monastic worlds that had developed to the extreme. She stared at them with wide eyes all the way, and asked Wu Yu from time to time what they were, and some even Wu Yu himself couldn't answer. For example, there is a huge pink building not far away, which looks like an upright snail. You can vaguely see the laughter inside. There is a plaque at the main entrance that reads, "Flowers in Wonderland." There were all male monks coming and going, and 2 beautiful women could be vaguely seen at the door. One was playing the pipa and singing soft, numbing songs, and the other was dancing with a red ribbon hanging on her body. That graceful figure, twisting the waist and swaying the hips, is extremely attractive. The charming eyes are vivid and seductive. Yazixi was very curious and asked, Where is this place? Brother Yu. Wu Yu didn't understand either. He penetrated the building with his fiery eyes and looked inside. It turned out that they were all practicing dual cultivation. Seeing Yezixi's innocent question, he didn't know how to answer. The other men burst into laughter. Nanshan Wanjiao chuckled and said, "This is a place where monks enjoy singing and dancing. It is definitely an elegant place. The singing is so beautiful. The two sisters are so beautiful. Can I go in and see if there is anything better?" Yezixi asked with emotion. Nanshan Wanjiao said, "No, only men can enter this place, not women." "Why?" "This is a rule, so don't ask any more questions. Let's look at other places." "There are more interesting places," Wu Yu interrupted Nanshan Wanjiao's words. He liked to tease Yezixi. "This place is not suitable for children. It's better to fly by quickly." Nanshan Wanjiao probably visited this place often. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 903. Don't go, why don't you go shopping with the little girl? I'll go in to find an old friend. I'm still the special guest of this fairy land of flowers. The elegant people there like me. Everyone was about to leave, looking at the moon in Nanshan. Twist. Shameless person, Chu Fenjiao smiled disgustedly and wanted to spit. That's because you are a girl. If you were a man, you would also envy me. Nanshan Wanjiao chuckled. Chu Fenjiao didn't seem to like Nanshan Wanjiao very much. Don't make trouble. Chu Huan held her back. He knew how important these three people were to Emperor Yu. There was no way they could compare with Wu Yu and the others in terms of strength. Of course, Nanshan Wanjiao was actually just joking. He was such a pig, and Wu Yu couldn't do anything about him, but he did exist and there was always fun. Next, everyone continued to walk casually. Along the way, everyone who met them had to look at them a few times. Those nearby also had to salute when they saw Emperor Yu. After Wu Yu left, they discussed what happened recently. Wu Yu listened carefully and found out that he had indeed heard news about Yezixi. They discussed that Yezixi was a talented cultivator whom Emperor Yu had found in a deserted village a few days ago, and he seemed to have obtained the help of a certain ghost cultivator. He is less than 100 years old and is already at the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm. This realm is comparable to that of many emperors. Sure enough, Emperor Keiru had arranged her identity and it had been spread, so it was easy to handle. This time, letting Emperor Zi bring her out can spread the news even more widely. From then on, she got rid of the identity of the Ghost Flame clan and could exist in the world of Jambu openly and honestly. Nowadays, they are influential figures in the ancient Yanhuan kingdom. Basically, wherever they go, they are the ones people talk about. Next, Emperor Zhu took Wu Yu and others to a luxurious place called Xianyu Delicious. This is a place where only the best people can visit. Emperor ordered many famous food and wines in the city of gods. Everyone enjoyed it. Wu Yu seldom tasted these, and was really amazed. Yezixi had never tried such delicacies. These delicacies were not only delicious, but also more effective than many elixirs, so they were extremely expensive. Of course, this was the emperor paid the bill. Then he took Wu Yu and others to experience many strange places. For example, there was a wonderful place that produced a kind of foot-washing jade liquid. Feet, the technique is amazing. After experiencing it, I feel really refreshed. In the afternoon, Wu Yu was walking along a wide avenue when he suddenly heard a strong smell of battlefield not far away. He was very sensitive to battles. When he turned around, he saw a huge building not far away, all black. There are a lot of blood-red lines on it, and there are countless swords, guns, and halberds stuck on the top, and most of them are real. which is why it is so fierce. From a distance, it looks like a jet black man with various weapons stuck on his head. The first battlefield in the city of gods. This is the name of this place. Along the way, this place is almost the busiest place. Not only is it dozens of times larger than the fairyland Delicious, but there are also a lot of people at the door, coming in and out, and there is an endless stream of people. And there are many top powerhouses appearing. Many of the people coming and going came in groups, and most of them arrived in warships. Any dignified person must be followed by many people. Just by looking at the ferocious aura, Wu Yu knew roughly where this place was. The city of gods banned weapon fighting. There must be a special place for fighting. This first battlefield of the gods with such a domineering name must be like this place. Emperor Yu said, "This is Prince Yuan. The property of my uncle Emperor Yuan Tian is the largest among thousands of such places in the divine capital. Many people have become famous here. Where is this place? Is there a fight?" Yezixi asked. To be precise, it should be a battle of wits and a gambling battle. Some people fight with skills and some place bets, Wu Yu explained. This is the place where many powerful men or their descendants, even the emperor's sons and daughters, visit the most. The last time I came here, I saw Emperor Sheng's son Nanshan Wanjiao said. Yezixi stopped here and looked at Wu Yu eagerly. She probably didn't understand him very well. Based on Wu Yu's understanding of this kind of place, he said, it should be that one person sets up the arena and takes out the lottery, that is, the bet, and outsiders can put up the bet that they approve of, and then they can fight with each other, and the winner gets the other party's treasure. This is gambling. Emperor Zi added, there are still onlookers who can place bets. The banker is the #1 battlefield in the capital of the gods. Almost hundreds of thousands of people gamble here every day. Some lose and some win. But in the capital of the gods, if you want to have a good fight without disturbing the order, you have to be in a place like this. If you want to participate in the war, you only need to pay a certain fee. As long as you want, can you choose any opponent, Yezixi said. Your bet is enough to arouse other people's interest. What? Miss Ye, do you want to give it a try? Emperor Zi asked. In fact, Wu Yu also heard it. She wanted to know so much and was just interested. After Emperor Yu asked, Yezixi looked at Wu Yu and said with a hint of pleading, I have been suppressing it for a long time and want to release it. I also want to feel it. Only Wu Yu can hear the true meaning of her words. She was depressed in two aspects. On the one hand, she couldn't communicate with the demon-slaying staff for a long time, which made her very confused. On the other hand, which was the most important, she cried and suffered for her parents' death in battle and the defeat of the Ghost Flame clan, but the deep depression still existed. It was difficult for her to be as carefree and happy as before, so she really needed to rely on fighting to release it, otherwise, her Tao and her heart would be overwhelmed and confused. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu felt that he was careless. With so many disasters, Yezixi could not adjust herself. She needed a place to vent, but he had never considered it. Of course, Le Daizi and others only thought that Wu Yu might like such a battlefield, but they didn't expect that it would be Yezixi who made this request. On Wu Yu's side, he basically didn't hesitate, and nodded, if you are interested, let's go in and take a look. Thank you, brother Yu. Yezixi understood that Wu Yu still understood her. She would definitely remember this touch in her heart. That's not bad. I have a special position inside with the best view. I can see almost the entire battlefield. I haven't been there for a long time. Le Daizi smiled and led the way to the first battlefield of the capital of gods. With Le Daizi here, it is indeed much easier to do things in the capital of gods. When he approached the door, a sexy woman in black came to greet him and said with a sweet smile, Le Daizi, I am sorry for not welcoming you from afar. Please forgive me. Will you notice that people who do this kind of work are at least at the Yuan realm? It is indeed worthy of being the property of Emperor Yuan Tian. Okay, don't talk about this. Just serve my friends well today. Le Diza didn't buy it. He was familiar with the way and went directly inside. He took a special passage, which was probably the passage for distinguished guests, leading directly to the high places. The woman in black followed him, smiling sweetly, and occasionally looked back a few times. Her eyes were mostly on Wu Yu, and she also glanced at Nanjun Wanjiao and Yezixi. Xuanhuan and the others probably came here often, so she didn't pay much attention. This is De Yuan Nation's territory, and De Yuan Tian was defeated in Jingxuan Palace. This woman must know, so she is also curious about who Wu Yu is. This must be the Emperor Le, he is indeed a young hero with a strong temperament. No one I have seen has such momentum. I wonder if I will be lucky enough to see the Emperor Le show his skills today. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Nightingale. In this first battlefield, I am just a small receptionist. My duty is to make the guests happy. The Emperor Le is my most distinguished guest. The woman named Nightingale smiled at Wu Yu. Wu Yu said, I'm not the protagonist today. Emperor Zixin brought back a Missia who is very interested in this place. You just need to make arrangements. Missia, this surname is the same as hers, so she thought Wu Yu was talking about her at first, but she soon saw Yezixi. With her keenness, she knew that Yezixi was not simple. This is Missia, right? You have the same surname as me, so we have some fate. Missia, don't worry, if you have any instructions, just tell Ye Ying. She was a little curious, why did this subordinate of Emperor Zixin of Yu get a little close to Wu Yu? People like them are best at observing words and expressions. Obviously, she can see that Yezixi is closer to Wu Yu and far away from Emperor Zi of Yu. Of course, she was just a little confused and would never think too much. At this time, they had entered the first battlefield of the divine capital, which was divided into 3 layers, upper, middle and lower. When Wu Yu and his team came out, they were on the top layer. Standing here, looking downstairs, the first floor is arranged with thousands of huge battlefields. Each battlefield is pitch black, transparent, and completely closed. Nightingale introduced to the newly arrived Wu Yu and others that this is the fighting battlefield built by Emperor Yuan Tian himself with a magic array. Since the establishment of this battlefield, no human battle has been able to shake these thousands of fighting battlefields. When the opponents enter, the fighting battlefield is directly closed and will not be opened except to determine the winner. There are many seats on the middle floor, at least 200,000. At this time, there are about 100,000 people sitting. They should not be the top-level existences, not the highest-level guests here. They are betting and fighting. The top floor is where Wu Yu and his friends are. There are not many seats, but the best view. They are all independent rooms, and they are served by special people. Those who can appear here are basically the top existences in the entire Yanhuang ancient country. For example, Emperor Yu has a dedicated room. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 904. Entering this exclusive room called Longjia Pavilion, looking down from the front, you can have a panoramic view of all the battlefields on the bottom floor. There are many rooms here, which are specially designed for the Emperor's sons and daughters. Of course, the view that's fine, but it's not a sign of wealth, it's a sign of power. The profit of this first battlefield in the City of Gods only depends on the middle level. There are also some truly strong people at the top, who are often the real spenders. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After everyone was seated, Nightingale arranged for someone to bring tea and the like, and then she waited in the corner of the Long Moon Pavilion. If she had any orders, Emperor Keiru would naturally arrange it for her. As for the amount of money that Yezixi would pay for participating in the battle, Emperor Keiru had already arranged it. Let her write it down. In fact, a young emperor like him has accumulated very little wealth, and the wealth of the royal family is also distributed according to merit. Therefore, the wealth of the emperor is not even as good as that of some ordinary monks, but this does not matter. Many places do not require the emperor's son or daughter to pay at all. This is the difference between the monastic world and the mortal world. In the mortal world, a prince may not have fighting strength, but he will definitely not have wealth beyond ordinary people. Yezixi was not in a hurry to go down. She lay down in front of the railing and mainly looked at the situation below. Wu Yu was also helping her understand. Nightingale saw that the two of them were watching the battle carefully, but the others were not paying attention below, so it is even more certain that the relationship between Wu Yu and Yezixi is better. Of course, she still wouldn't say much. Wu Yu glanced with his golden eyes and found that those who came here to fight were basically at the Yuan Shen realm and above. It was estimated that those who were not at the Yuan Shen state were not qualified to come here. There are even a few places where strong men from the three catastrophe realm are fighting. Often this battlefield attracts the most spectators. Some people watch directly around the battlefield, while others place bets on the middle floor, that is, the second floor. Among the onlookers, there are probably many powerful people who have reached the realm of three disasters. Wu Yu's strength is not considered strong here. Yezixi took a look and basically had an idea. This model is similar to Wu Yu's previous setup at the Shushan Immortal sect, and is also more scientific. There is a type of person who occupies the battlefield of martial arts, takes out bets, and poses challenges. Set the conditions for a challenge. Most people will set up a condition that the realm cannot exceed myself, and there are other conditions. Generally speaking, they are fighting at the same level. There are also people who want to find a specialized opponent, so they set up conditions to challenge so and so. There are also other conditions, for example, setting the condition of opponents who are good at fire magic and magical powers. You must put a lot of thought into setting the conditions, otherwise, either no one will challenge you, or you will be easily defeated, because as long as the conditions are met, the battle will be arranged on the first battlefield. As for the order, it's first come, first served. Usually when someone enters the battleground, places bets, and conditions are set, a lot of people will watch. Of course, the challenger's bet also needs to satisfy the challenged. If not, it will be judged by the first battlefield. As long as the challenged is not unreasonable, the challenger will be replaced. When the battle is established, other onlookers will place bets to determine the outcome. The first battlefield prohibits fake battles, that is, agreed wins and losses, because there are many strong people present, and they can easily see whether they have used their full strength. Once discovered, it would be tragic. It would be one thing to be unable to come in for the rest of his life, and he would probably die. After all, this is Prince Yuan's territory. Generally, people who are new here will choose to challenge others. You have won he cat, which is a great advantage. Wu Yu saw that most of the establishment conditions were that his level should not exceed his own, but Yezixi met most of the conditions, and with Wan He Cat, she was definitely superior to her opponents. I don't know how to use lazy, I want to do it myself, Yezixi said. This is right, after all, it is her self-release and redemption, winning or losing is not important. If you think about it, go down. Well, okay. Is there a bet? Some. Try not to take out anything that obviously belongs in the lava hell. I know, just use elixirs. After explaining clearly, Yezixi was ready to go down directly. Suddenly, Wu Yu noticed a very oppressive gaze falling on him. This gaze came from the other party. He looked up and saw that directly opposite his Long Moon Pavilion, there was also an exclusive room. There was a group of people nearby, mostly middle-aged or old men, all of whom were very strong. They were talking, laughing, and drinking. Among them, the most powerful person in the center was the person looking at Wu Yu. This person Wu Yu, I know you, he is the elder brother of Emperor Yu, the Emperor Yan, who is the eldest among the emperors. I remember that in Jingxuan Hall, he even contradicted the regent Dishishan for himself. Emperor Keiru also saw him at this time, and their eyes collided with Emperor Yan's. Because Emperor Keiru had great ambitions, the look between them was full of gunpowder. Emperor Yan was at least 200 years older than him, and he was surrounded by top experts. In this kind of confrontation, Emperor Yan was quickly defeated. Wu Yu reluctantly withstood it, turned around and said to Emperor Yu, "Don't worry about it. The gap in strength has to be acknowledged. Just don't be afraid in your heart." Okay, Emperor Nayan was indeed under pressure, so Wu Yu asked him to divert the pressure. Fortunately, at this time, the other party was not pressuring him. He probably regarded Wu Yu and the others as inexperienced children, at least in the eyes of Emperor Nayan. Even the emperor is not his real opponent. Looking over there, they were no longer looking here and were talking and laughing. It was probably that Emperor Yan was entertaining guests. Choosing this lively place to raise some stakes would make the party more interesting. Occasionally they would send their followers down to fight. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Prince Yuan and Emperor Yan have a very good relationship, so Emperor Yan comes here often. Yazixi was very courageous, so she went down alone at this time. She needed to go on an adventure alone. Wu Yu did not follow her, but he was up there and could see Yazixi's position. Okay, she's not a child. Don't worry so much. Let her go on her own. Come, drink and watch the battle. Nanshan Wanjiao stepped forward and handed Wu Yu a wine glass. Sure, Wu Yu sat down and could see the movement below. At this time, Yazixi was looking for someone to challenge. Because she was a ghost cultivator, but she could haunt here, she quickly attracted the attention of many people. And his identity quickly spread among the crowd because of his relationship with Emperor Yu's son. This is actually a ghost cultivator brought by Emperor Keiru. It seems that Emperor Keiru is up there. He was seen coming in. I wonder if the Emperor's envoy has arrived. Here we are, right up there, but he didn't come down. The one who came down was this ghost cultivator. It seems like this little girl wants to see how powerful our Yanhuang cultivators are. She is looking for opponents everywhere. She challenged. When some people paid attention to her, they soon saw that she was challenging a monk who had just defeated his opponent, won the opponent's bet, and raised the challenge again. The other party's realm is the 10th level of the Yuan Shen realm, and he is one of the stronger beings here. He is also a middle-aged man, with an immortal spirit, but with a fierce gaze, and he must have been on the battlefield for a long time. His bet is still the same as before. It is the same top-level Taoist weapon, with more than 90,000 magic circles, and its power is close to that of the spiritual Taoist tool. It's called the soul-causing blade. Many people challenge him just to get his Taoist weapon, but so far, they have basically failed. In this realm, he is almost invincible. Yazixi moved quickly, faster than others, but at this time, she had to come up with the corresponding treasures, as long as she satisfied her opponent. What Yazixi took out was the Dao Yuan Shen pill, which is the most circulated currency in the City of Gods. You don't have to worry about it being useless. It eliminates the need to exchange other treasures for your own procedures. Generally challengers prefer it. But to come up with Dao Yuan Shen pills that are comparable to this soul-catching blade, the quantity is still quite large. However, Yazixi had enough Dao Yuan Shen pills. When the Dao Yuan Shen pills piled up in front of her into a small mountain, the middle-aged monk looked at her thin body, then looked at the Dao Yuan Shen pills, and said, "Okay, little girl, come in." In this way, the battle is established. This battle attracted a lot of attention because of the relationship between Yezixi and Emperor Zi. On the first battlefield, a special person was sent to introduce Yezixi and her opponent. Everyone knew the strength of her opponent. As for Yezixi, because it is the first battle, the people in the first battle are the most mysterious and have the right not to announce anything other than their realm. Yezixi did not have the 3 disasters to Deo realm, so he obviously met the opponent's conditions, and the stakes were sufficient. It is said that Miss Yezixi was brought back by Emperor Yu from outside. She is a talented girl who has received the inheritance of orthodox ghost cultivation. She has practiced Taoism for more than 80 years and is already at the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm, which is the top level in the Jamfa world. How much combat power does this genius have? Everyone, it's time to place your bets. There is a total of 30 breaths, so don't miss it. The odds are. Looking at the odds, the first battlefield was set up where the 2 were evenly matched, but it is estimated that most people were defeated by Yezixi. After all, they all considered it in a safe direction. They were against the middle-aged man who had experienced many battles. Ascetics, be more trusting. When the 30 interest time comes, there are many people betting, but the amount is not high. Because it is the first battle, everyone is safer, which is normal. Wu Yu was fully focused. Yezixi and her opponent started a big battle after the battle arena was closed. Both of them were completely unfamiliar with their opponents, but the battle was indeed fierce. Wu Yu saw that she seemed to have forgotten those sufferings and devoted herself wholeheartedly to the battle in front of her. She had some ferocious feelings. This was brought to her by hatred. This cannot be said to be a bad thing, because it would make her she has grown, so the feeling she shows in battle is more difficult and crazier than before. A bit like myself. She was originally a genius and full of resilience. After undergoing transformation, this time when the battle started, her stormy attacks completely suppressed her opponent, and she defeated her opponent in less than 30 breaths. Many people applauded, as they knew her. When Nanshan Wanjiao made her debut, she defeated an opponent of similar strength. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 905. After defeating his opponent, Yezixi obtained the coveted soul-catching blade according to the bet. Of course, this kind of treasure is not even a spiritual weapon, so she won't care. What she longed for at this time was the feeling of fighting. She had never longed for it before, but it was different now. Standing in this fighting immortal battlefield, even he himself didn't know why he was so eager to fight, longing for that kind of immersion. In the Tao, there is a feeling of fighting and understanding. Maybe it was for release, maybe it was because she had been changed and liked the feeling that she didn't like before. Fighting and killing, especially with the Yanhuang tribe. Because Wu Yu told her that he was not from the Yanhuang tribe, which might be good news for her. She hated the Yanhuang tribe, but she didn't want to take Wu Yu with her. Wu Yu was on top, watching her go through battles. In these battles, she made great progress. Maybe others couldn't see it, but Wu Yu's sharp eyes were able to detect the changes in her mentality, which had a huge impact on her combat power. In the past, she only used Taoist magical powers. But now there have been profound changes. She is eager to defeat her opponent, but she also enjoys the process of fighting. Maybe she will lose her innocence about the Tao in the future, but no one can say right or wrong when it comes to cultivating the Tao. In other words, as long as she can become an immortal in the end, no matter what Tao, it is right. The onlookers thought that she had already gone through several battles and was exhausted and expected to be defeated next time, so they still bet on her defeat. But from beginning to end, Yezixi disappointed them because despite her exhaustion huge, even injured, but never fell down. I didn't expect that Emperor Yu was so lucky. Any ghost cultivator you can find is such a genius. At this age, to be able to have such good fortune and such fighting power, I can only say that my future achievements will be limitless. The emperor is indeed very lucky. With the talented Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao, as well as this ghost cultivator, it is not bad now. In 100 years, if they are successful, they will probably reach an incredible level. By then, the capital will be strong. The key is that the road to cultivation is so dangerous. It's not certain whether they can persist until 100 years later. How many proud men in history have suddenly disappeared at the most glorious moment, either died of the 3 disasters or assassinations. There are always old guys who have been practicing for hundreds of years and can casually kill the so-called peerless geniuses. Young people. In fact, even Emperor Yu was a little surprised to see Yazixi being so capable. Chu Fengjia was probably a little dissatisfied with such a group of people accompanying a ghost cultivator. Now that she saw Yazixi's strength, she didn't dare to say anything. Isn't it because she's older than me? I'm not even 50 yet. When I get to her age, I'll be better than her, Chu Fengjia said secretly. She is indeed younger than Yazixi, but in appearance, Yazixi is much younger than her. Of course Bailey Xuanhuan flattered him. They communicated in secret so as not to disturb others. Wu Yu had been paying attention to Yazixi's battle. At this time, he saw a few acquaintances in the crowd. They seemed to be several Yanlong generals from the Yanlong Legion. They wanted to get Wuji, Tianzu, and those who entered the lava hell with Wu Yu. However, they did not dare to go deeper. Wu Yu never saw them after entering. They were lucky to come out alive. Wu Yu only remembered Lu Yuyuo, Shang Guanying, Fang Mingjing, etc., and of course the 2 brothers Yu Chenyang and Yu Chenaiu. Among them, the younger brother Yu Chenaiu was the Taoist companion of Emperor Ying's daughter. They were hanging around down there. Now, the lava hell is not allowed to enter for a short time. They probably have nothing to do, so they came here to challenge themselves and to win more property. Most of them were in the realm of the 3 disasters, and they were quite strong. The people below would let them go when they encountered them. Wu Yu noticed that at this time, Yu Chenyang entered an empty fighting battlefield, obviously intending to become the challenge, which actually meant challenging everyone. The condition he set was that the realm could not exceed his. Then, he took out a Taoist weapon. Wu Yu took a closer look. It was a rod. It was completely dark and it was too far away, but Wu Yu could clearly see the details. The evil aura was very heavy. With murderous intent, taken out from the hands of a strong man in the realm of questioning, it is obviously not a mortal thing. Yuchen's voice was deep and domineering. He looked around and said, I took out the Shangling Taoist artifact of the 130,000 magic circle, which is called Galaxy Black Iron. The challenge conditions are that you only need to be in a realm no higher than mine, but you must bring out treasures of equal value. I will only accept one challenge. If you want to challenge it, don't hesitate. Many people were paying attention to him. At this time, seeing a bet at the level of a spiritual weapon appeared, more people focused their attention here. Generally speaking, there are slightly fewer challenges at this level, so no one will pick it up so quickly. After all, everyone has to consider whether they can really defeat their opponents and get this spiritual weapon. Otherwise, they will lose the equivalent value. The treasure is worth the loss. Of course, Yu Chenyang knew that the most he could endure was one battle of the same level. Whether he would continue to challenge or not would depend on his condition after the first battle, so he temporarily declared that there would only be one. This also forces the opponent to make a decision as quickly as possible. The surrounding Yanlong generals all came with him, so naturally they would not be disappointed. After all, it took a lot of confidence and courage for Yuchen Yugong to stand here first and provoke others. Every duel between powerful people in the Dao realm is a grand drama on the first battlefield in the City of Gods. It can also make many people place bets, so the first battlefield will focus on publicity and peace, so I said Yu Chenyang's words again. Of course, This is not the first time that Yu Chenyu has come here. Everyone knows the strength of the geniuses of the Flame Dragon Legion. Strong men in the same realm are now considering whether to take risks. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. They are all people with status, and it would definitely be embarrassing if they were defeated. So when looking for a challenger, there was a moment of silence with no reaction. Wu Yu remembered that he still had some grievances with this guy. After all, when he was fighting with Yu Chenyu, he was about to win. This guy was unethical and swallowed Wu Yu's body just because he was in the realm. The realm of heavenly body has been knocked back by one level. So far, Wu Yu has not retaliated to this guy. He is not a person who is determined to retaliate. The incident has passed. If he met on the road, Wu Yu would not bother to trouble him. But at this time, he appeared in the fighting battlefield and made it clear that he wanted to fight with others. It happened that Wu Yu, looking at it here, he thought, this is fate. It just so happens that you can return what this guy gave to you. In fact, seeing Yazixi fighting fiercely below, he was also a little passionate. In this ancient Yanhuang country, he is now synonymous with youth and vitality. At this time, he does not need to keep a low profile at all. After all, things are different now. So when the silence had just passed for a while, everyone suddenly heard someone say, if there is no one else, I will accept this challenge. When everyone heard it, the voice was rich and strong. Wasn't it Wu Yu's voice? Sure enough, they saw Emperor Yu falling directly to the ground from the third floor. For a moment, everyone looked at him in surprise and made way for him to lead to the battlefield of Yu Chenyang. It's really the Emperor's envoy. He is indeed up there. He can't hold himself back and wants to show off his skills. The last time he fought fiercely with Emperor Yao at the city gate, he was not the opponent of a strong man in the Wenwen realm at that time. Could it be that at this time, he is actually to challenge the realm of asking? He has already said it. He wants to challenge Yu Chenyang. I remember they had conflicts. The last time Wu Yu and Yu Chen's imperial consort fought, it was Yu Chenyang who intervened and almost severely injured Wu Yu. Obviously, Emperor Yu's envoy holding a grudge. Wu Yu got such a treasure as the 9 Tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar for no reason this time. It obviously increased his confidence a lot, otherwise, how would he have the courage to stand up at this time? However, relying on the Spirit Dao artifact alone is not you can win the battle. They are not at Wu Yu's true level now, so at this time, they basically feel that Wu Yu should have received a valuable treasure. His heart is swollen, he can't hold it back, and he wants to take advantage of an opportunity like today to take revenge. However, they may not think that this can make up for the huge gap with the powerful people in the 3 catastrophe realm. After all, these are different classes. Wu Yu is a popular figure, so his appearance immediately attracted the attention of most people to him, and he became the focus of everyone's attention in a short time. The first battlefield in the City of Gods instantly became lively. Yu Chenyang can be regarded as someone who has benefited from Wu Yu, and is known to many people. At this time, there were many real top figures on the top floor of the first battlefield, such as Emperor Yan and his guests, just one of them. Many people were hiding here, talking and laughing, chatting and occasionally looking at the situation below. Wu Yu's appearance at this time also attracted the attention of these people, most of whom had been practicing Taoism for more than 300 years. Some even exist for 400 or 500 years. Yu Chenyang stood on the battlefield of the battle, squinting as he watched Wu Yu approach. Of course he didn't expect Wu Yu to show up, but he wasn't worried at all at the moment, only sneered. He knew the most about the Guiyan tribe. They were actually the last ones to escape at that time. Thanks to Wu Yu's reminder, the regent ordered them to evacuate quickly, otherwise they might not be able to come back. I was a little grateful to Wu Yu. But I heard that Wu Yu exchanged the Wuji Tianzu for the 9 Tribulations furnace burning Tianzu that was the envy of all the emperor's sons and daughters. This little bit of gratitude was gone. Of course, the Yanhuang tribe felt that this outsider was not worthy of having it. When being noticed by countless powerful people at this moment, Yu Chenyang smiled in his heart. He knew that his opportunity had finally arrived. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 906. In front of Wu Yu, there are Lu Yuyu, Shang Guanying, Fang Mingjing, and others. These are all Yanlong generals who once competed with Wu Yu for the Wujitianzu. Of course, there is also the prince-in-law Yu Chenyu who doesn't have a strong presence. It is said that the relationship between Emperor Ying's daughter and her imperial envoy is much better than that between her and Yu Chenyu. Yu Chenyu rarely goes to the imperial city, which is evidence. However, Yu Chenyu was quite arrogant at this time. When Wu Yu passed by, he sneered and said, "You are so lucky. Do you really think that you have reached the sky in one step? This time you have nothing to do, so my brother, directly knocking you back to the prototype." No wonder they weren't afraid of him at all. It turned out that he hadn't done anything in front of them since he entered the lava hell. Wu Yu went directly to the battlefield. At this time, everyone was also curious about what level of bet he would take. Wu Yu pinched the sumuru bag, and a small knife appeared in his hand. He placed it on the bet. District said, "This spiritual weapon, called Unloading Soul, was obtained from the ghost array guest after I killed him. Now I have sacrificed it, but if you can defeat me, that's yours, I will lift the sacrifice. By the way, it has a total of 350,000 magic circles, which is much more valuable than your 130,000 magic circles, so you have a big advantage." Wu Yu would be fine if he didn't export. This export was huge in terms of skill and scale. On the one hand, everyone remembered that he killed the ghost warrior, which seemed to be conclusive evidence. On the other hand, no challenger had ever offered a bet that was at least 4 or 5 times more valuable than the bet of the challenged. As if giving it to the other person. It is precisely because of this that the suspense of this gambling battle is unprecedented. This first battlefield is obviously aware of its existence. Regardless of his realm or the bet, Wu Yu was obviously satisfied, and even exceeded it. His realm was obviously not as good as the Three Disasters Dao realm. It was said that his realm was very low, and compared with the value of the bet, Yu Chenyang's bet seemed a bit pitiful. Therefore, Wu Yu met the challenge conditions, and the first battlefield announced that the challenge was established, allowing Wu Yu to enter the battlefield of skills. Next, it's 30 interest betting time. This time's bets, both in terms of quantity and amount, have reached the peak of the first battlefield for a long time. The odds set up in the first battlefield are similar to the two. According to these odds, after careful consideration, the odds are still higher for betting on Yu Chenyang. Of course, this also shows that to some extent, they hope that Yu Chenyang will win. After all, to most of the Yanhuang tribe, Wu Yu was an outsider, and one that made them jealous. At the end of the 30 interest period, even Emperor Yu made the bet. Of course he won over Wu Yu and also took out a large amount of assets. Nanshan Wanjiao and others quickly followed suit and placed their chips. I really envy this Yu Chenyang, he got a bargain for nothing. Does the imperial envoy have too many treasures in his hands? He doesn't need to bring out such good ones. Did he really kill the ghost array guest? Or was he helped by someone, or did he use some other method? The last time I saw it, his strength was about the same as Yu Chenyang's younger brother. Now it seems that Zifu's Yuanli has not increased much. At this time, the betting has ended, and the fighting battlefield is completely closed. Wu Yu and Yu Chenyang are focused on this completely closed battlefield, but it is also completely transparent. This is a cubic closed space, which is actually not particularly big. That is why, for them, it is unusually difficult to have a big battle in this small space, which will be more intense. At this moment, the battle time begins. People wait and see. Especially those who place bets. Looking for death, Yu Chenyang had an indifferent temperament. He was too lazy to argue with Wu Yu and was about to use his own killing weapon. What he didn't expect was that Wu Yu was too lazy to say anything. At the moment when the battlefield was closed, terrifying power suddenly burst out from his eyes. The entire battlefield was instantly filled with golden flames. Devour. Fire Wonderland. Kill them from the beginning without saying a word. This is the real directness and roughness. The Fire Wonderland was successfully forged with a small amount of Fire Spirit Immortal liquid at the beginning. Later, when he achieved the indestructible body of the Six Worlds Heavenly King and Buddha, Wu Yu used a huge amount of Fire Spirit Immortal liquid to temper it several times, so its power is also much more powerful than when it attacked the ghost formation guest in the first place. Standing from Yu Chenyang's perspective, a pair of huge golden eyes suddenly appeared at his feet. They were cold and lifeless, swallowing up a huge amount of flames. Above his head, there was also an eye, which was dying. Staring at him, at this moment, the power of these eyes exploded. The power of the Fire Wonderland was crowded into this small space. For Yu Chenyang, it was simply an unimaginable disaster. For a moment, he was completely confused. Is this the same Wu Yu who he had easily defeated before? The eye of the earth under his feet and the eye of heaven in the sky spit out huge pillars of fire almost at the same time. The moment Yu Chenyang sacrificed the Taoist weapon, the double pillars of fire impacted at the same time and were swallowed up in an instant. The fighting battlefield emitted dozens of terrifying sounds. The explosion shook the entire battlefield. People then heard screams one after another. Vaguely, the strong men saw the light of 9 colors of flames in this golden sea of fire. Even in this golden sea of fire, the 9 colors of flames were very dazzling. This is the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar. Everyone counted the time and found that it had been less than 2 months since Wu Yu obtained this spiritual weapon. He actually sacrificed it, indicating that he had controlled it. This speed was enough to show that Wu Yu surpassed the emperor in terms of talent. A son, an emperor, and a daughter are rare to see in 10,000 years. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Boom. As soon as the enviable spiritual Taoist artifact appeared, there was a strong impact in the battlefield. It sounded like someone was hit in the front. After that, there was a snap. The fighting battlefield has 6 sides, namely front, back, left, right, up and down. These 6 sides are transparent, like glass. The one Wu Yu walked in just now was the front side. At this time, a figure suddenly bumped into on this side of the glass, there was a bang, and there was blood dripping on it. On this side, there were Yu Chenyang, Lu Yu, and others, who were the closest. At this time, when I saw it, the blood was dripping on the glass of the fighting battlefield. Isn't it Yu Chenyang, that the person with his eyes closed tightly, his expression in pain, and his fighting ability lost? From the beginning to the end of the battle, it probably took less than 5 breaths. Yu Chenyang went from a living strong man to a dying man with blood dripping on the glass in the blink of an eye. The pain in his heart was probably more shocking than the surface. Behind him, the 9-color flame disappeared. Wu Yu never really let anyone see the appearance of the burning Tianzu, and then he also let the violent flames of the Fire Wonderland return to his body. The battlefield had changed cleanly and transparently, and everything was very clear. Wu Yu stood on the ground with his hands behind his back. In front of his eyes, Yu Chenyang drew a bloody streak on the glass and fell softly to the ground. Many people didn't actually see it clearly and found that it ended like this. For a moment, the whole place was silent. The other battlefields were not very attractive. They could only watch Wu Yu as if nothing had happened. He walked to the betting area near the back door and took away the spiritual tool Galaxy Black Iron. Then he walked back and said to Yu Chenyang, who was so weak that he fell to the ground and barely opened his eyes, staring at him blankly, "Don't be so sad. There are so many people like you who have been defeated by me, and you are just a small one among them. There will be more people like you in the future, and they will be stronger, maybe in this first battlefield. What you are facing is not an ordinary opponent, so don't be sad, little one. There is nothing to be ashamed of when a rabbit is defeated by a lion." With a smile on his face, he took away his unloading soul. This sentence was said so that everyone could hear it. It was so arrogant that it made everyone feel as if they had been slapped in the face. Although Wu Yu was not targeting them, of course, that part was betting that Wu Yu would win. Yes, this feeling is not very strong. "Brother," Yu Chenyu hurriedly ran in, his steps were frivolous, he staggered, and almost fell to the ground. At this time, he found that his legs were shaking. He hated Wu Yu very much and wanted to kill him, but this it was impossible, so the chaos at the moment made him pick up Yu Chenyang, and when he wanted to take him away, he looked back at Wu Yu and almost fell to the ground. "I'm going to kill you," Yu Chenyu said, but he felt so weak that he sounded like he was crying. Roll. Wu Yu was too lazy to talk to him. Being scolded by Wu Yu, he stood there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. At this time, the people on the first battlefield reacted and announced Wu Yu's victory. They first congratulated Wu Yu, and then asked those who were guarding Wu Yu's victory. "Receive money. As for Yu Chenyang, there will definitely be nothing left." In fact, for many people, Wu Yu's defeat of Yu Chenyang was nothing. After all, he had evidence of killing the ghost array guest, but defeating him in an instant still shocked many people, even the big shots at the top level. I held my breath for a while. There are always some days when your face feels a little hot, especially before a battle, when you say some very firm words, but the reality is completely the opposite. It looks like they were so confident just now, it will look very funny, even if it is even noble people are funny. This time, I won a lot of money in the first battlefield. With similar odds, most people beat Yu Chenyu. This time alone, I basically caught up with the usual income of a few days. Wu Yu defeated his opponent and was too lazy to stay, so he was about to go up. People consciously made way for him. At this time, many people were looking at him, and many of their eyes were particularly intense, but he enjoyed this feeling. Envoy Emperor Kaoru, I'm very excited today. I don't know if I'm interested or not. Let's have another one that's more interesting. I just defeated a little loser. I guess Emperor Envoy Kaoru hasn't had enough fun yet. Someone spoke. Wu Yu raised his head. At the top railing, Emperor Yan was speaking. For the fastest updated website of this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 907. Wu Yu knew that this Yan Daizi was now quite hostile to him, and Le Daizi is not equal to. Obviously, he might not be so coveting the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar, but he obviously didn't want to let Wu Yu and Le Daizi and Wu Yu, who were insignificant in his eyes and had no qualifications to be his competitors, get it. When Wu Yu fought just now, he must have talked to the people around him and even made a bet. Now, seeing him stand up, seemingly with a gentle smile, it was obvious that he must have bet on Wu Yu to lose. Now, he probably wants to take the opportunity to turn the tables. Not a turnaround in terms of money, but a turnaround in terms of face and dignity. The 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar was given to me by the ancient Emperor Yanhuang himself. Most people would think that the ancient emperor values me very much. My position in the ancient emperor's heart is different from that of the emperor's sons. Other emperor's sons and daughters dare not offend me. But this guy looks like he is going to rebel against the ancient emperor. In fact, it is not the case. He should know that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang is elusive and has never completely stood on one side. It does not mean that he must make way for me and treat me as a distinguished guest just because I have received the reward. Wu Yu knows the ins and outs of this. These emperors' sons and daughters have experts to guide them. They have a certain judgment on the current situation. Maybe the ancient emperor appreciates Wu Yu, but he will never prohibit other emperors' sons and daughters from forming a strong competition with Wu Yu, or even defeating and killing Wu Yu. This is the hot and fierce character of the Yanhuang people. When Emperor Yan spoke out to provoke Wu Yu, there was silence for a while, and most people were silent, as if they had experienced the feeling of a storm coming. Now people are waiting for Wu Yu's response. At this time, Le Daizi had stood up and answered on behalf of Wu Yu, "Brother, no matter what, at least we have to follow the rules of the first battlefield. As for whether to accept the challenge in public, it depends on Wu Yu's intention." Le Daizi secretly said to Wu Yu, "He obviously wants to embarrass you. You can refuse him. After all, your performance just now is amazing enough. Now this is knowing that there is a tiger in the mountain. Recently, his performance has been so conspicuous. There are definitely many people who want to suppress him here. Wu Yu has been mentally prepared, especially this Yan Daizi. However, without enough prizes, Wu Yu will not work in vain. It can be seen that Yan Daizi still has great ambitions." Under the gaze of everyone, Yan Daizi glanced at Le Daizi and said, "It's none of your business, don't interrupt, stay aside." He didn't give much face. Although he was the elder brother and much stronger, the two were equal in status. However, if he angered the other party, Emperor Yan would definitely teach him a lesson personally. Even if he complained to the regent about this little thing, the regent would not deal with it. After all, there were too many emperors and princesses, and friction was normal. Wu Yu, Emperor Le was scolded and did not speak. Of course, he was furious. At this time, Wu Yu finally responded under the gaze of everyone. He said, "It seems that Emperor Yan is a little unhappy with me, so he wants to give me a warning. Of course, I am not afraid. The problem is whether the opponent arranged by Emperor Yan meets the regulations and whether the prizes prepared satisfy me. I will make a decision. After all, I am very busy." His voice was a little lazy, completely different from Emperor Li's attitude towards Emperor Yan. You know, Emperor Yan's strength may be stronger than Chu Yin. He has been practicing Taoism for more than 400 years and looks almost half an old man. If he was not the son of the ancient emperor, he would be Emperor Li's grandfather at this time. In fact, Emperor Yan has both sons and grandsons, and their strength is similar to that of Emperor Le. Of course, they are not the biological children of the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, so their talents are much worse, far from the level of Emperor Le. This age gap is also the reason why Emperor Yan suppresses Emperor Le. People like him never take a group of younger brothers and sisters who have not even reached the realm of Taoism seriously. As for Wu Yu, he really has no choice. If he beats Wu Yu up himself, it would be too shameful. It would also be embarrassing if it gets out, and he would be labeled as vindictive and impulsive. If he wants to win, he must win beautifully and leave outsiders speechless. Don't worry, I will definitely satisfy Envoy Yu. After saying this, Emperor Yan looked around his room and finally said, "Xin Yan, go down and introduce yourself to Envoy Yu to see if he is satisfied." "Yes," a deep voice came from above. The name made people's faces change. Emperor Yu also hurriedly reminded Wu Yu, saying, "This person is in the second level of the realm of Taoism. He is very powerful. He is very rough. So far, the strongest opponents Wu Yu has dealt with are characters like Gui Zheng and Yu Chen Yang." Just when Emperor Yu had just finished speaking halfway, a black shadow fell from the sky and landed in front of Wu Yu. At that moment, even the ground of this first battlefield was shaking. Wu Yu looked closely and saw that there was really a giant in front of him, more than 2 feet taller than Wu Yu, and his volume was estimated to be more than 3 times. He was covered with large black muscles and looked very rough. His head was shiny and there was no hair at all, but his eyes were very narrow and his expression was fierce. This person should be a cultivator who focuses on fighting with strength. He is particularly outstanding in this aspect, just like a beast standing on its own. His path is somewhat similar to Wu Yu's, but not as outstanding as Wu Yu's. However, compared to Wu Yu, his physical body is much inferior, but his biggest advantage is that he is at the second level of the Dao realm, which is 9 levels higher than Wu Yu. This is a huge gap, even if Wu Yu has an indestructible body and an extraordinary Zifu Yuan power forged by the great celestial immortal technique. The gap between him and his opponent in terms of Zifu Yuan power is extremely huge. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Of course, at first glance, the other party could tell that he had practiced Taoism for more than 300 years before reaching his current state and Zifu Yuan Li. The majestic Zifu Yuan Li was like a huge sea, and Wu Yu was like a lake at best, no matter how good his quality was. No matter how huge the physical advantage is, there is still a feeling that it is beyond reach. Wu Yu admitted that such a person was far inferior to him in terms of talent, but now that he was going to fight, he still had to be wary of him. This is just like in the immortal kingdom, no matter how talented a child is in fighting, it will be difficult for him to defeat a strong man. Emperor Yan is very powerful. He has seen Wu Yu's battles and knows where Wu Yu's limit is. This Xinjian was sent by him. The limit that Wu Yu can withstand is at a level that Wu Yu himself cannot, not sure if he can defeat his opponent. As soon as Xin Yan came out, many people exclaimed. It seems that he has a great reputation. I vaguely heard someone calling him 10,000-ton real man. With this title, it sounds like his body is 10,000 tons. The other party bumped his fists together, looked at Wu Yu with burning eyes, and said in that deep and thick voice, I, Xinjian, have been following Emperor Yan since he was a child. Now he is at the second level of the realm. He is good at killing people. Please give me some advice from Emperor Yan. Sure enough, this man was extremely tough. What he said about being good at killing people was not a joke. Above, Emperor Yan applauded, and there were several old men standing beside him with smiles. They were all beings of similar strength to him. Basically, they all held official positions in the Yanhuang ancient country, and the lowest level was the palace lord level. Emperor, are you satisfied with this opponent? I feel that Xinjian is still very challenging for Emperor Envoy. After all, the young hero Emperor Envoy, at such a young age, can instantly overwhelm him and ask, the talent and combat power of Yu Chenyang in this realm are astonishing. Everyone here knows that Yu Chenyang, this waste, is far from the limit of the Emperor's Envoy. Everyone wants to see what the Emperor's Envoy is. Degree, right. Regardless of whether everyone likes Emperor Yan, if there is any focus or key battle on this first battlefield, everyone will naturally support it. Who doesn't want to see a fierce battle? Therefore, basically 90% of the people who echoed Emperor Yan's call, most of them, had just lost a lot of money. Envoy of the Emperor, enter. Don't be afraid of me, we believe in you. Promise Emperor Yan. The protagonists at this time are Wu Yu and Emperor Yan, who have little to do with Xin Yan and Emperor Yan. Even Emperor Yan did not regard Emperor Zi as his opponent. His target was only Wu Yu. Of course Wu Yu couldn't agree directly. He waved his hand and said, he's a nice guy, but what about the bet? If I defeat him, what benefits will I get? This is the real point. Wu Yu felt that the other party's purpose was not just to suppress him. He should have other purposes. So everyone pricked up their ears and waited, wanting to hear what Emperor Yan had to say. It was probably at least a spiritual Taoist artifact. Emperor Yan smiled and said, Of course I won't disappoint the emperor. Since there hasn't been a particularly hot battle in the first battlefield for a long time, I took out 1,000 Dao Shendan as a bet. What does the emperor think? As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar immediately. Xuanhuan Dao Shendan, not Dao Yuan Shendan. The Wendao Divine Pill is one of the highest level elixirs in the world. It is said that only cultivators with a high level of Wendao and profound knowledge in the art of alchemy can refine it. In fact, in the entire mortal world, the number of Dao Shendan that is maintained is not very large. The Dao Shendan is very important to the Dao realm. The Wendao state emphasizes the integration of the soul and the physical body, and the Wendao Shendan can promote the integration of the two and has great effect. Therefore, the Wendao Shendan is regarded as the top currency in the world, and its value is much higher than that of the Dao Yuan Shendan. For example, someone like Yu Chenyang would probably have a hard time reaching double digits with the number of Xuanhuan divine pills he possesses. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 908. When Ming Long first met Wu Yu wanted to learn how to practice, and the condition she proposed was the Dao Divine Pill, but she has forgotten everything now. To be honest, the value of 1,000 Dao Divine Pills can buy the Wuji Tianzu, which should be about 2 Wuji Tianzu. Wu Yu has tens of thousands of clones, and he needs a lot of pills at any time. He still has no money now. It can be said that these thousands of Dao Divine Pills are very important to him. This is a huge amount of money, much more useful than the Dao Yuan Shen pill. But the problem is that the other party unexpectedly took out such a huge fortune, and Wu Yu can't take out money that can be compared. Wu Yu squinted his eyes, glanced at Xin Yan, and then looked up at Emperor Yan. At this time, there was a dead silence all around, and Wu Yu's voice was very clear. He asked, "In this case, what does Emperor Yan want to get from me?" "It can't be the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pill." This remark caused another commotion. The son of Emperor Yan was straightforward and said with a smile, "The envoy of Emperor Le is very smart. Yes, I am also very greedy for the treasure of the burning heaven pillar. Since it has fallen into your hands, and I still want to fight for it, I came up with this method. 1,000 divine pills are my sincerity. I wonder if the envoy of Emperor Le will accept it? What a courage! He dared to use this method to take away the things that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang gave to Wu Yu. It seems that this son of Emperor Yan knows the ancient emperor better than me. He must know that he can do this. The ancient emperor may not care, or even allow him to compete in this way. That's why he dares to do this," Wu Yu thought. From the perspective of ordinary people, the son of Emperor Yan seems to be bold and daring. He even wants the things that the ancient emperor gave to Wu Yu. This shows that ordinary people are not as smart as the son of Emperor Yan. Or, this is also the judgment made by the people behind him. Maybe the ancient emperor is a little interested in Wu Yu now, but it does not mean that they cannot suppress Wu Yu. Perhaps in this way, the son of Emperor Yan can get more attention from the ancient emperor. After all, many people speculate that for a long time in the future, until the new emperor is established, it will be a test period for the sons and daughters of the emperors. Now people are waiting for Wu Yu's answer. Of course, Emperor Yu said to Wu Yu anxiously, "Don't agree. He dares to do this, he must be very sure. If you accept the challenge, you will definitely not get the Dao Divine Pill. This is a small matter. The key is that if the burning heaven pillar is lost, you and I will be the joke of this ancient country of Yanhuang. If the son of Emperor Yan gets the burning heaven pillar openly, no one will think that he is messing around, but will only think that he suppresses us." He knew that Wu Yu had a fierce temperament and basically accepted any challenge. However, this time Wu Yu did listen to him. He basically refused without any hesitation. "Emperor Yan is dreaming. You want 1,000 Daoist divine pills to be worth the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar. This is 1/10 of the lava hell. If I were a fool, I would agree to such an unfair competition. It seems that in the eyes of Emperor Yan, I am the kind of impulsive and arrogant person who has no sense of propriety. 1,000 Daoist divine pills are indeed a lot, but it is far from enough to tempt Wu Yu to take out the burning heaven pillar. He thought he could guess how much property Emperor Yan had. 1,000, haha. In fact, Wu Yu felt that this opponent could indeed arouse his desire for a fierce battle, but the risk was too great and the reward was too small. Emperor Yan obviously thought that 1,000 Daoist divine pills would make Wu Yu ecstatic. Normally, a high-level spiritual weapon like the burning heaven pillar is hard to come by, and sometimes even Daoist divine pills cannot be bought. If the value is compared, it is at least more than 3,000 Daoist divine pills, or even more. So everyone can understand Wu Yu's refusal. On top, since Emperor Yan had come forward, he certainly didn't want to end it like this, otherwise he would be laughed at for wanting to ask for too much, but was afraid to take risks and was as timid as a mouse. He and the people next to him looked at each other, and they realized that they had underestimated Wu Yu a little. What they had discussed before was that Wu Yu was arrogant and belligerent, and 1,000 Dao Shendan was a property that he could not possibly have, and it would definitely be possible to lure him into the game. Emperor Yan, you can't catch a wolf without giving up your child. Emperor Yan had a plan in mind. At this time, Wu Yu was about to return to Emperor Le, and Emperor Yan suddenly smiled and said, "It seems that Emperor Le is interested in gambling, but he is not satisfied with my chips. Since Emperor Le is sincere, I must also show my sincerity. 1,500 Dao Shendan, Emperor Le may not be able to collect so much wealth for many years except for the burning heaven pillar. With this as the bet, Emperor Le should be satisfied. In order to get the burning heaven pillar today, he took out 1,005, which was already very risky. After all, this was not a small amount for him. Getting the burning heaven pillar is not just as simple as getting it. There are other uses. First, it allows more uncertain people to join his camp. Second, it is what he desires, to let his father notice him. Even though he is not young, he has met the ancient emperor very few times. However, Wu Yu can think of his purpose, and he knows that he is in a difficult situation now. He has a lot of room for negotiation, so he pretends not to hear it and continues to go back. He jumps down directly from the third floor, but he has to go up the stairs to go up. After all, the people up there are more noble. The bet of 1,500 yuan was raised, but Wu Yu didn't react at all. This made Emperor Yan a little embarrassed. He finally understood that Wu Yu was putting pressure on him. 1,500 yuan was still far less than Wu Yu's limit. Emperor Yan, I see that this guy needs a huge bet from you. He bets on Fengchenzu, but he must make you bet at least half of your net worth before he agrees. In this case, the pressure will be on Xinyan is there. Although we have great confidence in Xinyan and Xinyan also has enough means, the problem is that we are always afraid of accidents. I feel that this Wu Yu is a ruthless character and it is not appropriate to fight with him today. A dignified person beside me. The old man said. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. There is nothing without risks. This is a big gamble. This Wu Yu is not as impulsive and arrogant as we thought. In fact, it can be seen that this person is thoughtful, but he also has weaknesses. He did not refuse directly, but said the thing about numbers is that he will still be moved by a certain number. This number is just a bet, and it will not really be exported. I think it has reached this level, but he can't come up with a number that makes him excited and spread it out. It will only make people say that Emperor Yan has no courage, which is okay. I am afraid that Emperor Gu thinks so too. The people around Emperor Yan were divided into two groups. This is not an ordinary gambling battle, but an important turning point for Emperor Yan. He has had enough of this mediocre competition. Wu Yu is outstanding. He also hopes that he can change. Make yourself noticed. Emperor Yan's eyes changed. At this time, Wu Yu had already walked up to the second floor. Everyone was looking at him, but he seemed calm, but the speed of his walking was obviously unhappy. This was giving Emperor Yan a chance. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Emperor Yan finally spoke in a deep voice and said, "In this case, if the Emperor is still not satisfied, then go crazy. I think you should be satisfied with Sankin Wendeo Shendan. This is not a small amount. 3,000. This battle seemed to have escalated to a higher level. When he heard the number 3,000, even Xin Yan's eyes changed. It was obvious that the pressure on his shoulders had become extremely heavy. This was considered a battle for Emperor Yan. The big bet is all on him. Many people were breathless because of this number. 1,000 was less before, but now it is 3,000. People think that it is almost the value of the burning sky pillar. Sure enough, at this time, Wu Yu stopped. He raised his head and looked at Emperor Yan, and said, "This burning heaven pillar is an important treasure on my body. If I lose it, I will lose half of my current combat power. Emperor Yan, I want this Fentianzu, but I have never been sincere. This is really meaningless. After all, this person below is not an easy character to deal with." Unexpectedly, he was still not satisfied with 3,000. Having said this, Emperor Yan laughed angrily, and sneered, "If that's the case, then tell me, what number do you have to have before you want to fight?" Wu Yusi said without hesitation, "Without the 5,000 divine pills, there would be no way for me to take such a big risk." Wu Yu was more difficult than Emperor Yan had imagined. He found that he had underestimated the enemy a little, otherwise he would not have been forced to this point. Now he really felt like he was riding a tiger. However, Wu Yu finally made his request, which shows that there is always a number that can make him tempted. However, Wu Yu is really open-minded. Not only Emperor Yan thinks so, but basically everyone present thinking this way. Wu Qian asked for the magic pill. This can make Emperor Yan lose more than half of his property. This is really a big gamble. Emperor Yan can definitely exchange these 5,000 Dao divine pills for spiritual Taoist tools of equal value. Speaking of which, Emperor Yan's courage is really not that great. It's not like you and I are asking each other. It's just a gambling fight. We don't even know whether we will win or lose. You even want my burning heaven pillar. This is an ancient thing. The thing given by the emperor himself is less than 5,000 Wenwen divine pills. How could I put him in the betting area? Wu Yu looked at Emperor Yan with twinkling eyes. Speaking of which, Emperor Yan still needs more face. He now slightly regrets that he took the first step to provoke Wu Yu, but this was the result of the crowd's booing and his own confidence. As a result, the other party actually raised the price to 5,000. However, Wu Yu raised the price. This was an opportunity for him to step back. He could have said that burning Tianzu was worth more than 5,000 divine pills and that Wu Yu was not sincere. This would not be too embarrassing, but it was all worth it. Okay, I'm always a little reluctant. The people around Emperor Yan were all his cronies. They looked at each other, and one of them, who had a slightly higher status, said, "We can't lose face. Everyone, come together and give the Emperor 2,000 Taoist gods Dan, how's it going?" They volunteered to raise 2,000 to 5,000. However, Emperor Yan was very courageous. He waved his hand and said, "No, today, I will make a bet with Wu Yu. If we win, the current predicament will definitely change. If you lose, it might be a joke." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 909. Chapter 902 Meteorite of Heaven. 5,000 Daoan pills. An amazing number. Now it seems that Wu Yu is going to accept this challenge. Such a huge bet may not have appeared in this first battlefield of the capital of gods for a long time. After Emperor Yan agreed, it depends on whether Wu Yu really dares to accept it. Emperor Li did not expect that things would develop to such an extent. Of course, he is not a coward. In this confrontation, it seems that Wu Yu is guiding Emperor Yan, so he can only ask Wu Yu himself whether he is really sure. And Wu Yu did not respond to him alone at this moment. He responded directly to Emperor Yan, saying, "Since Emperor Yan is so sincere, it would be too embarrassing if I don't know the situation. Well, let's take a gamble today, give Emperor Yan a chance, and give myself a chance." He really has the courage to accept it? People looked at it with fear, and deep in their hearts, there were waves and magnificent waves. Yan Daixi and others looked heavy-hearted. The original teasing intention had long gone. Now they realized that this was a gamble. Yan Daixi's eyes fell on Xin Yan. Xin Yan was naturally not a simple character. He was under great pressure at this time. However, he was the kind of person who could explode even more under pressure. Seeing Xin Yan's eyes, Yan Daixi had a lot of confidence. His voice became much colder. He pointed to the direction of the largest fighting battlefield in the center. It was usually not open to the public. Only the most critical battles would be held in this fighting battlefield. He said, "In this case, you two go in and let us witness this very interesting gambling battle." This gamble has great significance for him besides getting the burning heaven pillar. After Xin Yan received the order, he went directly into the huge and transparent fighting battlefield without saying a word. Then, holding his thick arms, he waited for Wu Yu to go in. He went in first and released his purple palace energy, gradually spreading throughout the battlefield, making this place his domain first. A focus battle will break out immediately. Everyone looked solemn and silent. They were probably thinking about the expressions of both sides at this time, judging from this, how they were going to bet. Brother Yu Yazixi had already come out of the battlefield. She was not far from Wu Yu's side, looking at Wu Yu from a distance. Judging from her spirit at the moment, she should be better than before. Ye Wu Yu nodded to her, reassuring her, and then, in full view of the crowd, he walked towards the battlefield. Every step seemed to be stepping on someone's heart. Everyone stared at him, with different expressions. Hearing about the dispute here, there were still many people outside coming in. At this time, Wu Yu was walking, and a burst of black smoke came out of his body. The smoke condensed into another person. A closer look showed that it was still Wu Yu himself, but his temperament was cold and weird, with white hair and bloodshot eyes, like ice. People were surprised that people with almost exactly the same appearance, even the body shape was similar, but there was a slender and a burly feeling. Everyone knows that this is Wu Yu's clone, and it is also a very important part of his strength. Such a clone is naturally amazing. However, Wu Yu summoned another person from nowhere. That person is different from them. He is full of sharp sword intent. In his eyes, the sword energy is soaring into the sky, with a tearing sharpness. Who is this? Where did Wu Yu get this person? The real person can't be hidden in the Sumuru bag. For a while, everyone discussed in an uproar. That's not a person, it looks like a puppet. I remember that Wu Yu had a bone dragon puppet before. But how could this puppet be so similar to a real person? How could there be such a pinnacle of technology in the world? A puppet like Jian Lingzun is beyond people's imagination. Wu Yu obviously wants to use 3 against 1. Now, everyone is talking about the puppet he showed for the first time. This is also a bit beyond the expectations of the Yan Emperor. After all, in his plan, Wu Yu's combat power only includes the main body and the devouring heaven body. The number of puppet formations exceeded 100,000, or even far more. According to his intelligence, the bone dragon puppet Wu Yu had before was equivalent to the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm. This humanoid puppet looked even stronger. Wait, I remember that the challenge of the first battlefield stipulated that puppets and talismans could not be used, and one could only rely on one's true strength, Yan Daiza said. It's just a puppet, and Yan Daiza was actually afraid. In that case, let's not fight. Yan Daiza, so far, it seems that you don't have any courage. Wu Yu was not afraid at all. He was more confident if he wanted to use Jian Lingzun, but he knew that puppets were prohibited here, so he summoned it first, just to force Yan Daiza to surrender in this way. Don't, it's already this time. Everyone was very depressed. They had been talking for a long time, and finally the war was about to start. There was another dispute. If they couldn't fight, then they would have waited for a long time in vain. For a while, everyone was resentful. Wu Yu made a bet in his mind that since the Emperor Yan dared to offer 5,000 asking divine pills as a bet, he must be determined to get the burning heaven pillar, otherwise, he would have given up long ago. It's just a puppet. No matter how strong it is, it can't decide the outcome of the battle. There are many capable people around Yan Daiza. Everyone estimated that Wu Yu's 3 combat powers are basically around the first level of the realm. Xin Yan is still quite confident. After all, he has special means, otherwise he would not send him up. Don't talk so much nonsense, it's useless. Let's see the real thing with your hands. Yan Daiza's words finally calmed everyone down and regained their expectations and desires. At this time, in the first battlefield of the capital of gods, people became restless and heated. The main body, the body of the swallowing sky and the sword spirit entered the battlefield one after another. Then, the battlefield was closed. In this closed space, Xin Yan's purple palace energy was everywhere, which made his opponent feel like drowning. Next, it was time for others to place bets. This time, the first battlefield of the capital of gods extended this time to 100 breaths. Everyone can carefully consider it. According to the set odds, if you bet on Wu Yu, if he really defeats his opponent, he can get more than twice the compensation. Judging from the progress, people are hesitant about Wu Yu's ability to create miracles. At least 1/3 of people think that he may still make amazing moves as usual. The remaining 2/3 of people, after careful consideration, still chose to believe Yan Daiza. After all, Yan Daiza is not a fool. He has made such a big bet, and there is a group of strong teams behind him. Such a group of old guys can crush Wu Yu. It is impossible to let Wu Yu, a young guy who has just started out, be tricked. As the saying goes, the old ones are still the best. The end of 100 breaths marked the beginning of the battle. Seeing that Wu Yu's decision could not be changed, Le Daiza told Wu Yu the simple materials of Xin Yan. After practicing Taoism for more than 300 years, there are many means. Among them, the most famous is a magical power called Golden Incomplete Saint Body. It is rumored that it is a golden immortal body. Ordinary spiritual tools cannot split his body, let alone hurt him. The spiritual weapon used now is called Shankang meteorite. It is said that it is forged with rocks from the falling of the galaxy. The material is special and strong, with great destructive power. It also has a magic array of more than 300,000. Its power should be stronger than the soul removal of the ghost array guest. In the Shankang meteorite, there is a magic array called Star Falling Killing Array, which has great lethality and is Xin Yan's current signature. These are the most famous methods, and there are several others, none of which are bad. Combined with his purple mansion energy that far exceeds Wu Yu, it is indeed amazingly powerful. At this moment, the battle broke out. It was the first time he faced the second level of the realm of Taoism. In fact, he was not particularly sure, but he only needed to know that the opponent could not defeat his original body, which was enough. As long as he did not lose, he would definitely have a chance to win. In the first moment, the opponent sacrificed his spiritual weapon Shankang meteorite. Those were two huge round hammers, spherical iron hammers with large cones protruding from them, sharp and heavy. When the other party swung the round hammers, a ferocious whistling sound was set off. They looked extremely heavy, but they did not lose speed. It is conceivable that with the hammer of the meteorite from the sky, coupled with the purple palace energy, a large area of mountains could be directly shaken down. The greatest power of this upper spiritual weapon is its heaviness. It is estimated that there are a lot of magic arrays inside to increase the weight and power. Then, Xuanhuan showed his magical power golden incomplete holy body. At this moment, in the blink of an eye, his body underwent a huge change, from the inside out, from a flesh and blood body, to a giant made of gold. His height grew by more than 3 feet, and he became more sturdy, rough, and harder. The body made of gold was indestructible, just like the upper spiritual weapon. It looked even tougher than the body of Wu Yu's puppet sword spirit lord, whose body was made of precious treasure materials. A giant in golden armor, holding 2 hammers, stood in front of Wu Yu like a god. His golden eyes saw Wu Yu. He put Wu Yu's body first, and of course, he wanted to attack Wu Yu's body first. Under his gaze, Wu Yu's body also found a huge change. First, he changed from a human to a ferocious golden fairy ape. Then, in an instant, the law of heaven and earth, even if it was only the 3rd level, the giant after Wu Yu's transformation, both in height and body shape, suppressed Xuanhuan in turn. In front of Wu Yu, he was just like a child, and his burly became sturdy. At this moment, Wu Yu held the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar burning with 9 color flames in his hand. The burning heaven pillar was as thick as an ordinary person's thigh and looked even heavier, especially the 9 color flames, how blazing, plus the power of the fire spirit immortal liquid on Wu Yu's body. For a while, the entire battlefield of the battle was like a sea of fire. Heaven swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 910. If Wu Yu felt that his 2 bodies plus the sword spirit master were not as powerful as the opponent, the only way to defeat him was to cooperate. Therefore, he had to attack with a storm before the opponent, bursting out one after another, not giving the opponent a chance to breathe. However, the opponent also realized this. At this moment, everyone stared with wide eyes and watched them start a fierce battle. Among them, Xuanhuan immediately targeted Wu Yu's body after offering the upper spiritual weapon and displaying the golden body. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Of course, he thought that as long as Wu Yu's body was defeated, Wu Yu would lose everything. Since ancient times, the best way to break a siege is always to stare at one person. So, he had to seize the initiative faster than Wu Yu. At this moment, when Wu Yu's body sacrificed the burning heaven pillar, he rushed out violently in an instant, like a majestic wild bull, charging towards Wu Yu, and every step shook the entire battlefield. Golden turbid air. Wu Yu thought that he would use the upper spiritual weapon to suppress himself at the beginning, but he didn't expect that he would start attacking directly while running. At this time, he opened his mouth and suddenly touched it. Suddenly, a golden smoke burst out from his mouth. The mouth was not big, but the explosion of this golden smoke was super strong. It instantly filled half of the battlefield and swallowed Wu Yu. A closer look showed that the golden smoke was composed of the smallest particles. The small particles were all sharp sword-tip shaped things. A burst of golden smoke filled the air, which was simply billions of golden sword tips, like locusts, densely packed. This is a method beyond what Emperor Yu knew. It seems that Xuanhuan has hidden a lot of methods. At this time, he directly used this magical power, golden turbid air, to seize the initiative. The Battle of Immortals is exciting and thrilling. So people exclaimed. It happened in a flash. At that time, Wu Yu's body was retreating rapidly, but this angle had been closed by Xuanhuan. The battlefield of the battle was so large that even if he retreated, he could not escape the golden turbid air in the end. But no one expected that at this moment, Wu Yu's white-haired and blood-red body suddenly turned into black smoke, retreating in the direction of Wu Yu's body, and instantly mixed into the golden turbid air. The black and golden smoke were entangled at this moment. This is what happened at the critical moment. After mixing and entangled together, in the blink of an eye, the black smoke was transformed powerfully and turned into the black vortex, rotating at high speed. In this rotation, Xuanhuan's control of the golden turbid air was taken away, causing it to rotate with the vortex. Looking for death, Xuanhuan didn't expect Wu Yu's clone to come to him. He shouted angrily and strengthened his control. He wanted to reverse the golden turbid air and attack the black mist instead. If he couldn't attack Wu Yu's body this time, tearing his weird clone apart would also be a victory. He originally wanted to engulf Wu Yu with the golden turbid air, and then use the spiritual weapon to destroy Wu Yu's body in one go. This change disrupted his steps and forced him to decide to destroy Wu Yu's clone first. He still had such confidence. As long as he focused, he could still control the golden turbid air. This was his weapon. Shatter, for a moment, in the vortex of the devouring heaven body, the golden turbid air was extremely strong, reversing the vortex of the devouring heaven body, and it was about to burst Wu Yu's devouring heaven body. However, right behind Xuanhuan, Jianlingzun came up at this time. Without saying a word, the violent storm-like attack was extremely violent. The magic circle fish killing was activated, and the yin-yang fish Tai Chi appeared on the top of Xuanhuan's head. Tens of thousands of sword chi fell on his head like a downpour. For a while, there was a clanging sound of metal friction. Although it hit Xuanhuan, his golden incomplete holy body was indeed strong. His head was broken, but he recovered immediately. Moreover, he also used the sky meteorite to block his head, activating his magic circle, forming a dome-like shield. This fight is ever-changing and thrilling. People are thrilling to watch. They have all placed bets, and of course they hope that the person they bet on will win the battle. Many people clenched their hands and dared not shout. Every little change can lead to intense changes in many people's hearts. To be honest, Xuanhuan is very strong. The body of this golden armor giant is difficult to break, and his magic power is really powerful. However, Wu Yu was not bad either. Although the violent sword energy of the sword spirit master did not hurt him directly, it just distracted him. With this distraction, the violent golden turbid energy fell into Wu Yu's control again. The devouring heaven body seized this opportunity and spun wildly as if it had broken through its limit. The golden turbid energy was swallowed up rapidly, and in a very short period of time, it directly turned into Wu Yu's golden turbid energy. At this moment, it was time for Wu Yu to counterattack. The desperate attack of the sword spirit master just now made Xuanhuan very irritable. The sword spirit master was indeed not afraid of death and performed it right in front of him. This made Xuanhuan furious and turned to attack the sword spirit master. He did have this ability. When he burst out, he bombarded with the meteorite from the sky and hit the double swords of the sword spirit master, and immediately pulled the sword spirit master out. The huge force made the sword spirit master crash into the wall of the battlefield, and his body quickly cracked and almost fell apart. People have finally seen how terrifying Xuanhuan is, and those led by Emperor Yan are finally relieved. After all, they have seen the gap in absolute strength. Xuanhuan is like a tiger, and Wu Yu has two bodies and one. The puppet is at most a three-headed wolf. Not dead yet, Xuanhuan saw that his powerful bombardment still did not completely collapse the sword spirit lord, so he became even more furious. He was about to go all out to destroy the sword spirit lord when suddenly a violent killing move came from behind him. When he looked back, he saw a burst of smoke coming toward him to be swallowed up. Of course he knew that this was his own golden turbid aura. This chapter is not finished yet, Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Sure enough, Emperor Yan said that his clone has a magical power that can convert my attacks. It's really amazing. Because Emperor Yan said it, he had already anticipated what the other party was doing just now. Although he wanted to continue killing Sword Spirit Master at this time, he had to deal with his golden turbid aura. The 5-piece Lion Nightmare Gate Shield. He quickly sacrificed another spiritual weapon of his, and immediately, 5 golden lions rushed out of his Sumuru bag, colliding together in front of his eyes, and instantly transformed into a golden shield. The 5 lion heads on it were letting out a terrifying roar. At this moment, the golden turbid energy hit the shield, half of it spread around, and the other half was swallowed up by the 5 lions. Boom! After all the golden turbid energy was destroyed, the 5 gold lion nightmare door shield instantly dispersed, turning into 5 male lions following behind Xinjian, who could combine at any time to resist attacks for him. When unfolding the 5 metal lion nightmare gate shield, Xinyan continued to kill Sword Spirit Master. Whoosh! Unexpectedly, at this moment, in the opposite direction of Wu Yu and the clone, coming from the direction of Sword Spirit Lord, his eyes suddenly went dark, and an invisible knife appeared instantly and pierced into Xinyan's eye. Poof! It seemed that everyone heard the sound. This is Wu Yu's release of his soul. This is accompanied by this golden turbid air. The golden turbid aura was resisted by Xinyan, but this soul-removing thing bypassed the resistance and changed direction instantly. At this time, Xinyan was unprepared and even a little proud. This is soul-breaking. Thousands of miles tracking. The power of soul removal is really aimed at the soul. When it is truly inserted into the opponent's physical body, especially the eyes, the impact on the soul is much more powerful than Wu Yu's blood-crying realm technique. At this moment, Xinyan let out an earth-shattering sound. Screaming, he was about to reach out to catch the unloading soul, but the unloading soul was pulled away from his body first, but the impact it brought to the opponent's soul was still as heartbreaking as a knife. Chance. This is the real turning point that Wu Yu is waiting for. As long as the Sword Spirit Master is not shattered, he will not stop attacking. At this moment, he rushes up instantly. The sword is like a heavy rain, pouring towards the Xinjian. The 5 golden lions are roaring and instantly condense in front of Xinjian. Blocking the swords all over the sky, Xinyan was able to resist the sting of the soul a little at this time. Wow, but at this moment, the uproar coming from all around made him feel a little moody. He turned around and opened his eyes. In the black smoke, Wu Yu's golden body rushed towards him, and the burning sky pillar in his hand it instantly turned into 9 sections, and then turned into a giant cauldron. The giant cauldron was like a furnace, with 9 colored flames burning inside. When he turned around, the giant cauldron with crimson red flames in front of him, turning it over, he put it directly on top of his head and suppressed it to the ground. Xinyan was so stung by his soul that he was directly engulfed in anger. Next, there are 8 giant cauldrons left, which are covered one after another. Each giant cauldron is a little bigger than the previous one, just enough to hold the 9 layers. At this moment, in the giant cauldron, the 9 kinds of flames have merged together. 9 palaces furnace burning silence formation. Within the 9-layered giant cauldron, Wu Yu stood with both feet at the bottom of the outermost giant cauldron and pressed one hand on it. The most powerful attack array of the 9-layered cauldron was activated. Provided by his Zifu Yuan Li, Xinjian is like a turtle in an urn. At this moment, Xinyan should be frantically hitting the inner wall of the giant cauldron with the heavy meteor from the sky. At this moment, the magic circle was activated, countless small arrays activated the large array, and then the super large array 9 palaces furnace was activated. Burning silence formation. Buzz. For a time, all the fire from the 9 layers of the lava hell was poured into it and gathered around Xinjian. The terrifying temperature was no less than the environment of the fire spirit immortal liquid. The most terrifying thing is what happened later. At this moment, Wu Yu activated the magic circle. Because the 9 flames were incompatible with each other, an extremely violent explosion was born. This explosion detonated the entire inner world, and this spiritual weapon was extremely strong. When it was closed, at any time, the power will never overflow, so among the terrifying roaring sounds, people can still vaguely hear Xin Yan's painful screams. People's faces changed drastically, and they looked at Wu Yu with pale faces. Under the ultra-high-level attack, was he going to win again? People looked at Emperor Yan, but could not see the change in his expression. From this, they felt a little comfort, guessing that Xin Yan might not be defeated so easily. Of course, we can only guess like this.